Mga kababayan, isa pong malaking karangalan na makasama natin ngayong araw ang ika-17 Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, His Excellency President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Hello po, Mr. President.
Hello, Toni, and nice to see you once again in this setting.
It's nice to see you again.
But iba na yung ating setting
Iba na!
ngayon.
Exactly a year ago, we did this interview, our first
about
sit-down.
a year ago, that's right, yes.
Sa inyong tahanan. Ngayon, nandito na tayo sa bago niyong tahanan for the next 6 years.
Well, this is where we live and work now. Ay, ganun talaga.
Your home and your workplace, but this is also your old home. You lived here for 20 years.
It is. I think it's an advantage for me kasi parang alam ko na ito, lahat ng, alam ko yung, kung minsan nga yung security ko nawawala dahil kung saan ako dumadaan, alam ko yung pasikot-sikot dito sa palasyo. Nung nakatira kami dito, ang father ko ang Pangulo.
Pero ngayon, kayo na po.
Yun na nga eh.
Sa pagbabalik niyo sa Malacanang, kayo na ang Pangulo.
Ganun na nga ang nangyari. Pero iba yung pakiramdam.
Ano po yung pakiramdam?
It's very hard to describe because
So many memories.
yes, you have those memories, but the memories as a child, memory as watching your father work. Now it's you that's working. It's you. This is the office that you work in, and these are the people that you work with. So it's very much playing a familiar role, but you never played it before. I was never president before. But I watched my father for a very long time. So, ganyan ang presidente.
When you hear the word president attached to your first name, how does that make you feel?
Again, it's very hard to describe. Nung sa umpisa, siyempre, nung sinasabi President Marcos, sa isip ko, si President Marcos, tatay ko. Yung tinutukoy nila. Mr. President, hinahanap ko si Mr. President kung sino yung kinakausap nila. But I guess you just get used to it kasi nandyan ang trabaho. And that's the way the work is done. You have many decisions to make. There's much study to do. Marami kang kailangan. So, that keeps you busy. So, hindi mo na iniisip yun. Pero, pagka kuminsan, meron pa rin, lalo na pagka mga ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines. Right? So, yun pa rin. Uy, ako yun.
Kayo na yun.
Ako pala yun.
Alam niyo, may sinabi yung mother ninyo, our former First Lady, Imelda Marcos. She said that the presidency is destiny.
Yes.
When you were growing up, naramdaman niyo ba that you will become the president of the country?
Well, ang naririnig ko nung bata ako, and I was still very young, and I'm talking about single-digit young. You know, I'm talking about 8 years old, 7 years old. And I think I've described it before because my father was so dominant in the political arena. Ako naman, sinasabi ko, hindi na ako papasok dyan. In fact, umiiwas talaga ako sa politika eh. Well, circumstances are what they are. I ended up here. Para sa akin, hindi yung gusto kong mag-presidente kahit ano yan. Kasi yan lang gagawin ko sa buong buhay kung mag-presidente ako. It was never like that. It was really more like, well, nandito na ako. Napunta na ako sa politika. Yun, sabi ko, nandito na tayo. Sabi ko, pagbutihan mo na lang. Just keep going, go as far as you can take it until we reach the presidency.
The presidency.
Natatawa ako kung minsan I see the commentary that pinagplanuhan nila ng taon-taon nito, it's a long-term plan. And
The truth is,
I'd like to talk to them and say, you give us too much credit. If only you knew all the stumbling blocks that came in our way, all the mistakes that we made.
sabi po nila, everything that happens in your life is a preparation to where you're going to be in the next chapter. What do you think prepared you for the presidency?
I think if ever anything prepared me for not only the being governor or congressman or a senator, but being president. I don't know if I'm completely prepared, but I have some preparation that I can put in my belt, and that's just watching my father. Watching what he did. I lived in this house. I was with him. It's like going to master class. How is this done? How do you run a country?
Speaking about your father, nung nag-oath taking kayo, ang ginamit niyong Bible, Was the same
Yung
Bible
sa
your father
aking ama.
used?
Hinanap namin yun. We wanted very much to go back to tradition. And we thought that it's time we have to come back to our touchstone. And it's okay, this is the presidency. This is how we do it. This is how it goes. Ito yung tradition ng ating ng Pilipinas. Respetuhin natin yung tradisyon na yan. Siguro, in my old age, I'm getting superstitious.
So before the inauguration, let's go back to the day no May 9 when the votes were coming in and you were seeing the numbers hanggang sa nag-reach siya ng 31 million votes.
I know.
You made history as the first president na nagkaroon ng pinakamataas na boto sa kasaysayan ng eleksyon ng mga pangulo. 58.77%.
I know, that's remarkable. I was awestruck. Of course, we're always studying the surveys, we're always looking at the figures. We say it looks good, it looks like it's going to be
Did you
okay.
expect the 31 million?
I didn't allow myself to do that. All through the campaign, I said, relax, you're not gonna win
Kahit
yet.
na you're number one sa lahat ng surveys.
No, survey pa lang yan. Hindi pa boto yan. Ganun lang ko lagi. Kahit na maganda yung numero, kahit na magandang response ng tao, sabi ko, wala pa yung eleksyon. So when we were watching the figures, I said, well, so far it makes sense. And I kept telling, congratulations. Sabi ko, hindi mo na mag-congratulations. Until our own canvassers were saying, ang natira ngayon na boto is 12 million. Kahit mapunta lahat sa kalaban na, panalo ka pa rin.
Kahit pag sumasamahin yung boto ng kalaban ninyo,
Kahit doon, that was the only point na
naramdaman nyo, ito na
sabi,
yun.
mukhang panalo tayo.
What made you cry when you won?
Actually, it was the reaction of all our supporters that it was so deeply felt that it's God, it's something that we cannot take lightly. We were there during the
I
campaign.
cried that night.
I think everyone should.
Everyone cried, all of your supporters cried.
Even some of these tough guys na
They
mga
cried.
kaibigan, mga kaklase, mga tough guy. Wala, sabi ko, matatanda na talaga kayo, iyak kayo na iyak.
Did you have a special moment with the family where you all hugged each other after you won and they cried, the kids,
I think-
Tita Lisa?
I think we had very, very, very many of those special moments. One of the best moments that we had during that evening when we were watching the count was I didn't expect it kasi natapos na naproklama na si Sandro in Ilocos. I didn't know this. So later in the evening, I think about 9 or 10, he walks into the place, panalo rin. And that was like a big, I said, great. We all did okay. But again, it always comes from this vote, this kind of support. Embedded in that is the hope of people, please do something good. And the thought that kept going in my head, maikot-ikot sa aking pag-iisip, I said, we better do well. These people are counting on you. All of these people went out of the way to give you the vote. The most valuable thing that they can give is trust. You guys remember that measure of support comes with a measure of hope and trust. And we cannot betray that. So we have to work very, very hard, and we have to get it right.
The message of your campaign was unity,
Yeah.
and it resonated to 31 million Filipinos. Why do you think it did?
I think that people could see that this kind of nitpicking and bringing people down, that crab mentality that we talk about, that sometimes Filipinos have, that it was enough time for that. That's enough already.
Was it also because you think that our country was divided
Yes.
in a lot of ways?
Yes.
What
And
divided our country?
politics. We lost sight in many ways of the national interest. And we only talked about partisan interest. Pinaglalaban lang natin yung sa partido ko, yung sa kandidato ko, yung sa gusto ko. Hindi natin iniisip yung ano yung para sa Pilipinas. Kahit medyo malugi ka, pero maganda sa Pilipinas, okay yun. Walang problema. We have to start thinking that way. Even if it costs you, even if it's hard, even if people don't understand. Ganyan naman talaga ang politika. Yan ang leader. Hindi naman lahat makakaunawa doon sa iyong ginagawa. Meron diyang element na kahit anong sabihin mo, hindi naman tama. Kasi nasa kabila sila, so yun yung trabaho nila. They oppose. And in the end, kasi naman, matagal ko nang natutunan itong leksyon na ito. Performance is the best politics. Pag magandang nagawa mo, kahit anong sabihin nila,
Your
nagawa
work
mo eh.
will speak for itself.
Yes. At saka hindi nila makukuha sa iyo. Alam ng tao. Even wala kang placard na sinasabi na akong gumawa nitong project na ito, akong gumawa ng magandang ano na ito. Alam ng tao eh kung sinong nagdala ng improvement dun sa kanilang buhay. That's the most important thing. At saka nobody can take that from you.
Let's talk about the sauna. What was that experience like for you, giving your first State of the Nation address?
I've been to saunas as a congressman, as a senator, nanonood ako. So I know exactly how it goes. It's the same thing like being here in the palace. I know how things go. But then I'm not sitting as governor and watching it, or sitting as a congressman and watching the sauna. I'm the one standing there making the State of the Nation address. Again, go back to tradition. And the State of the Nation address is a report to the people about how we are doing. What it was really a look forward to see this is what we are doing. And that's why some people were saying, why did you go into so much detail, into so much? Because people have to know what our plans are. Hindi naman nila naintindihan yan. Hindi na bale. Those potential investors that we are trying to bring into the Philippines, the financial analysts, and the most important priority of people right now, even of the government right now, is the economy. So yun ang inuna ko. And so yeah, how does that feel? Well, actually making the speech is okay, but writing that speech, I wrote, it took us a full week of writing. But what I really wanted to present was a plan. I said, everything is part of a whole. And the one thing that I also asked, that I also wanted to get across, is that I know that people have been sacrificing for 2 years. We will do this. We're not asking you, nagsakripisyo na kayo. We will do this to help you. The government is not asking anything from its people. It's the government now that will provide to the people. Kasi talagang alam naman namin, naghihirap na kayo, matagal na kayo naghihirap. Kaya't kami na muna, patrabahuhin niyo kami, ayusin natin yan.
The war on drugs, hinanap po nila yun sa SONA.
Yeah.
It was not tackled.
No, I didn't, because I had already explained it, and I think it's of an internal matter. The war on drugs will continue, but we have to do it in a different way. Until we formulate fully our policies, hindi pa natin masasabi. Because we are, even as we speak, there are working groups putting together the new war on drugs. We're looking more for in the upstream of the problem, the prevention. Turuan natin yung mga bata. Huwag kayong papasok sa ganyan. Wala kayong aabutin dyan. Karamihan ng pumasok dyan, either nakakulong na o patay na. So, ba't nagugustuhin yun, di ba? So, all of that. And those who are already involved or na-addict na, we should treat them. We're trying to, in fact, right now, we are trying to formulate what is the latest and what's the best way for the rehabilitation. These are all being formulated. And then even on the enforcement side. But I'd like to formulate that more. That will take another whole sauna just to explain.
What about the death penalty? Ano po ang stand niyo sa death penalty?
Death penalty is a tough one because there is a practical issue and a moral issue involved. And the question is, does society have the right to kill its own people? And that's a tough one to get around. As a practical matter, does the death penalty actually, does it discourage people from committing heinous crimes? And I think the data, not only from the Philippines but from other countries, shows that it doesn't. We have to be very stringent about applying the law.
You said something really nice about the creative industry in your
Yes.
sauna.
Yeah.
And alam naman po nating lahat na marami sa aking kasamahan sa industriya ay very vocal na against you.
But
What is your reaction to that?
that's their opinion. But again, it's clear that the creative industry is an important part of our culture, even of our image and look abroad. If you go around Asia, and you go to the hotels, you go to the bars, ang tumutugtog lagi Pilipino, di ba? We have somehow a special affinity to the performing arts. And I've seen many of my friends in the creatives, 2.5 years, walang concert, walang trabaho. I'm not only talking about the performers, I'm talking about the caterer, the driver, the crew. Walang trabaho ito for the last 2.5 years and laking asset. Now we're going to talk about tourism. Secretary Cristina Frasco, yun ang kanyang talagang thinking. Sabi niya, let's make the Filipino brand important and to be well known. And she's absolutely right. Part of that brand is our culture. And it's not something that's going to be too hard. The Filipino brand is attractive. The Filipino brand is singular, is unique.
What for you is our Filipino brand?
Grace. If I have to describe it in one word, it's grace. Filipinos are so gracious. That's why I thought it would be an important part of the sauna.
So what can the Filipinos expect from a Bongbong Marcos presidency?
We can expect that the Philippines will finally begin to emerge from the difficulties that we have been going through in the past 2.5 years. We continue to go through up to now. But I think there really is a very grand opportunity. We just got some economic statistics yesterday and today. I really am going to work very hard on the economy, and that is based very much on agriculture. So, yan ang tinatabaho ko ngayon. The normalization of the business of government. The way that the government will run will be fully explained and hopefully understood by people so that, again, they know the part that they can play. If they're private investors, they know what is interesting to them. They know how to get it done. Now, even not investors, but ordinary people, they want to get a business permit, they need to get a license, they need to get accreditation. We'll keep it simple. Hopefully, if our digitalization actually becomes as successful as we hope it will be, people can do this. We will have a better coverage for internet, and people can do most of these functions or most of these chores, really, so they are at home. We'll modernize the functions of government. We'll make it easier for people to work with government, both ordinary citizens, but and also the big shots, the investors that want to put a business here in the Philippines.
What kind of president do you want to be for the country?
Transformative. That we have transformed the government into something that is well attuned and ready and well positioned for all that is going to come.
Speaking about your government, how do you choose the members of your cabinet? Ano yung mga qualifications na hinahanap mo sa isang secretary?
Ang cabinet level is really capability. Sino ba talaga yung pinakamagaling na makuha natin? I mean, and I've said this before, I think I told you this before, is one of the hardest things that you get these very successful people. Kasi magaling, kaya successful eh. Sinasama sa gobyerno, they're doing well, you know, maayos yung buhay nila. Hindi sila...
Private sila.
Private lang sila. Then you ask them to join government. So the only way that we have been able to get all of these really, some very brilliant people to join the cabinet have been really invoke love of country. At a certain level in government, you need technocrats. You need advice, technical advice. You don't need political advice. Well, you get political advice from somewhere else. But when it comes to the actual running, the technical nuts and bolts of running the government, the economy especially, you really need technical advice. One of my simplest criterion is who knows more than me about this subject.
Para po sa inyo, why is your VP Sara Duterte qualified to be the DepEd Secretary?
Because she feels very strongly about it, and she's, as a government worker, as an administrator, she's really very competent. I've seen her work. She works very hard, and she's very methodical in the way she does things. She doesn't leave things out, and she's very patient. But she's also quite forceful. And the Department of Education is not an easy job to put together, especially since we decided that the face-to-face will go on in this semester. That's not an easy job because we're transforming the entire educational system from what it was during pandemic back. And I think kaya ni Inday yun eh. The word that I keep using when I talk about VP Inday is forthright. Basta kung ano sabihin niya, gagawin niya. And that's why malakas ang loob ko sa kanya. Na pag sinabi niya, hindi, ito, tatrabahuin ko ito. I talk to her and I say, oh, what do you need? How is it going? Kailangan ko ng ganito, tulong din sa ganyan. So we'll do it. And she's at her heart. I don't know, she'll get mad at me because I'm getting personal. But sa puso niya, she's a mom. She's really a mom. When you scratch Sarah, you find a mother inside. And that's the best motivation for me. Because let's just say, she's just doing this for her children. That's good enough. Because she wants the best for her children, and she wants the best for all children. And she's always had that advocacy anyway.
You appointed yourself, Mr. President, as the Secretary of Agriculture. Ano po ang plano niyo sa sektor na yun ng gobyerno?
It is such a big job. And the agricultural sector is so important that I thought, symbolically, may pakita ko, no, it's that important to me. Ako na yung humawa.
This is the priority.
This is a priority in this administration. Hanggat maayos ito yung gagawin. Ito yung hindi namin titigilan ito. Number one. And number two, it's just over the years, we really have to reorganize the entire value chain system of our agricultural production. Again, hindi. Ang ending talaga nitong lahat is cheap or at least affordable food for everybody. Na may bigas lahat, na may ulam lahat, di ba? Na meron tayong fisheries, meron tayong hog raiser, meron tayong broiler production, pati itlog, pinag-uusapan natin. In fact, maybe I can say it now, I'm going to initiate in our, at least for the government workers, the rice allowance. Nagbibigay part of the sweldo. Ang pagbayad is in rice. Para nakakatiyak tayo, everybody, every family will have rice. And this will be bought by the government, from the government, para makamura tayo, and the people do not have to buy it at the market price. Now, we don't want to put the rice producers out of business. On the contrary, what's going to happen is magkakaroon ng demand. Kasi bibili ng marami yung gobyerno eh. And then we'll talk to other corporations. Marami na naman din sa malalaking korporasyon, meron na silang rice allowance eh. So we'll institutionalize it. So at the very least, meron tayong ganun. This is life and death, and the people are living very close to the subsistence level. And we have to pull ourselves out of that. They should not be at the subsistence level. They should not be spending 60, 70, 80% of their income on food. That's far, far, far too much. They have nothing left for anything else. They cannot send their children to school. They cannot pay for the electricity, the water, all of these things that they need to pay for. So that's really the scope of the problem. And that's the way I see it.
You were talking about the rice. Isa po yan sa diniscuss ninyo nung campaign na ang aspiration nyo ay maibaba ito sa 20 pesos, hindi ho ba?
There's a way to do it, but it'll take a while. We have to return NFA.